Hey Lewis, this is Dave again. I just wanted to do another little screencast to show you a few things about the object that you sent. First of all, it's very cool. I love it. But there are a few issues, and I just thought I'd give you a couple of tips on this object. This object's much closer. It's got the right amount of polygons, and it's a lot simpler, but it still has a few detached parts, and I just wanted to show you a couple of things. So first of all, if we zoom in, I can show you a few of the issues with this model. One thing is in the middle of each one of these areas is a little like flower shaped thing that is detached from the back. I don't know, you can probably see that when I rotate this around. And there's another spot in these little areas. There are a few detached parts in here, and also some very thin little things popping up. So I'm going to show you a way in Cinema 4D to delete all those objects at one time. And I'm not sure if you're using Cinema 4D, but I'm sure there's a similar way to do this in other programs. So I'm going to go into polygon mode. If you have Cinema 4D, it's on the left-hand side. There's a and before I do that, there's something that I discovered in Cinema 4D to look at how many polygons your object has. You can right-click on the object in the Object Manager and select Object Information, and it will tell you right there how many points and how many polygons. So this has got 250,000 points and 499,000 polygons, which is totally fine for printing. But that's just a good way to find it out without having to go out into MeshLab. So what I'm going to do is I select polygon mode, and then I select my direct selection tool. What that allows me to do is select individual polygons. So I'm just going to grab a handful of polygons from the main object. Then there's a tool under the select menu called Select Connected. And what that will do is it will select all the polygons that are directly connected to that. And then it will not select the polygons that are unconnected. So you can see right away that there's a section of polygons that were not connected to that piece. And then if we go down to another spot, oops, if we move into here, this is harder to see, but you'll see that there are a few in here that are not connected as well. So once I've got the main object selected, I can go up to the select menu and choose hide selected. So that'll hide everything that is connected and leave all the unconnected parts unselected. So you can see there are a handful of things there. So I'm going to go back to my selection tool. I'm going to grow it, make it a little bit larger so that I can highlight all of these objects. And I'm going to uncheck visible elements so that I can select everything in here. So now I've just painting a selection over the entire model or the entire area, and now I've selected all those. Just hit the delete key and they will disappear. Go back up to the select menu and do unhide all, and now I've got the object selected. So if I go back to model mode, you'll see that we've just gotten rid of those parts that were not connected. And now it's a single set of polygons. Now, one thing that I notice in here is that it's still fairly rough for the number of polygons that are there, and so there are a number of tools for smoothing out polygons. There are sculpting tools built into Cinema 4D that do this, but there are also standalone programs that do this. There's a program called Mudbox that is made by Autodesk, and I'm sure that Mudbox comes with Maya, but I'll use the tools within Cinema 4D just to show you how to do this. So the first step in Cinema 4D for doing this is in the main menu there's a Sculpt tool, and under Sculpt the first thing you have to do is subdivide, and that's just saying that I want to make a layer for sculpting. So if I hit subdivide, it adds this little blue tag here to the object, and it makes the object look smoother, but this is not, it hasn't really smoothed anything out. It looks smoother, but all it's done is added what's called a Phong tag. So if I double click this sculpt tag, it'll bring up the properties for the sculpt tag, and you see there's this Phong checkbox. What a Phong tag does is it treats polygons that have a very small angle and treats them as a smooth surface. So it's just for visualization. It's just if you're making something that is going to be on the screen. So if I just turn that Phong tag off, you'll see that I have the original mesh under here. Nothing has changed. So once I've done subdivide to get my sculpting tag, I can choose tools from the Sculpt menu. So under the Sculpt tag, there's a brush called Smooth. And there are all kinds of them that do different things, but for our purposes, I'm just going to use the Smooth tag, the Smooth brush. So I select Smooth brush. You can see it's a little bit large on my model, so I'm going to change the size of it down a little bit. And now if I just click and drag around my model, you'll see what it does. It just smooths it out. It's actually making new polygons. It's increasing the number of polygons and smoothing at the same time. And so I can rotate around and just work on this, make it a little smoother. And I don't know if this is, if I'm just showing you a tool. I don't know if this is what you had in mind, or so now I've just moving around, smoothing it a little bit. So there's some smooth areas. One of the things, okay, so now I have, I actually have not, this is completely non-destructive. So right now, if I were to delete that tag, all of that geometry goes away. I'm going to undo that. To make this into a model that can, that can be exported, I need to commit these changes to an actual polygon surface. So if I double click the sculpting tag again, I can, under the tools menu, I can say create a polygon copy. So what it's going to do is, if I select create polygon copy, it makes a new object that has all of those changes committed. So I'm going to turn off this layer, and now I've got an object that actually has that geometry. And so if I go to polygon mode and select and look, you see there are more polygons, and they're smoothed out. Now we can export that, but sometimes when you do sculpting, you introduce more mesh than you want. So I'm going to show you a way to decimate or to reduce polygons from within Cinema 4D without going to Mesh Lab. I'm going to close this. I'm going to actually just delete my original. Now I've got this this object. I'm going to, from this Deformers tab, this these set of blue tools here, there is a tool called Polygon Reduction. If I put Polygon Reduction into my scene and make it a child of my object, I can reduce the number of polygons. So right now, let's take a look at it. Right now it is object information. We have 494,000 polygons, which is totally fine, and we could print that. So we don't really need to do this on this model, but I'm just going to show you because sometimes this can get kind of crazy and there can be lots of polygons in here. So if I drag this polygon reduction tool onto my object, it will reduce the number of polygons in a non-destructive way. So you can see that the default for this is a 90% reduction in the number of polygons, which we don't need at all. I mean, you can see that it's really made it too coarse. So we can just change that number. This is all non-destructive. So I can change this number to, say, 40%. That'll just give us a 40% reduction in polygons. And you can see that those smooth areas still look pretty smooth, but they have a very low polygon count now. So if I turn on my polygon mode, well, one thing you notice right here is that I haven't actually reduced the number of polygons. I've just added a layer. So now to commit those changes, I need to make this object into an editable object. Okay, so I right click on the object with the tag and I say current state to object. Current state to object will, I can turn this one off now. And now I've got an object that is that has that polygon reduction committed. And so if I look at that object and do object information, you'll see I'm down to 296,000 polygons. And it looks pretty good. It looks similar to the original. And those smooth areas look smooth. So now I can take that object and export it as an STL file and print that. So that's just a few tips about smoothing, about how to get rid of extraneous objects in the scene, and how to check the number of polygons and to do decimation within Cinema 4D. So if you have any issues, give me an email, and I think I will try to print this to show you a copy of it. So hope everything's good with you, and I'll talk soon. Bye-bye.